Tain't bad. Tain't bad. How's the sound? Are we okay? What's the level? Doors open. I got a fan blowing in here. Are we okay? Okay. Looks like it. Noise forced. Pretty good. All right, so let's get started.
This episode is sponsored by VOinbox.com, the only full-service marketing tool for established professional voice actors.
Hey, it's Troy Holden, and this is the VO Life. Oh, this 2-week rotation has been good to me, but man, I forget. And next thing I know, I'll look at the date and I said, I got to get a podcast in. And as you guys know, in VO, there's only so many subjects you can talk about and things, but you want to keep going. You know, you think, I've done 170 of these. This is 171, which blows my mind. But I thought, today, what can I piggyback off of? What have I heard this week that has given me some inspiration on something to talk about? First off, I want to say I have really become a huge fan of Paul Schmidt and his down-to-earth, no BS approach about a lot of things. And I really appreciate him putting out the content he does because it helps me a lot. I am not a marketing guru. I am not a business guru. Although I've run some good-sized businesses, this is different, having to wear all the hats and to get that advice at times from someone else or see things they're recommending helps me correct my course sometimes. And he had a really good one about social media this week. And of course, here I am putting out dumb videos on TikTok, which I put them on TikTok for that reason. It's something for me to let out some creative content for me more than anything else, because as a lot of you know, I would have loved to have been an actor. I wanted to be on Hee Haw when I was a kid, but I knew, you know, being the heavyweight, you're not the most handsome person and blah, blah, blah. You know, could I have been a John Belushi? And then when Belushi came along, I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to be him or Chris Farley or whoever. And, you know, I just never chased it. I never did it. So doing these dumb videos, I think, is an outlet for me. And it's, you know, it really doesn't have a lot to do with my VO stuff. But on the other hand, it is a waste of time in a lot of ways. And so with that said, get self-corrected and maybe focus on some other things. But today what I'm going to talk about is not that. I want to talk about landing a client, keeping a client, things you can do right and wrong. And these are some probably well-discussed topics, but I want to give you my point of view on it. So how do you become that client's go-to talent? How do you become the person they want to come back to time and time again? What are some of the things you should absolutely do? Well, it's not that hard, and most of you guys know. But I'm going to hit on a few things that maybe you didn't. You know, everybody will say quick delivery, great audio, you know, da-da-da-da. Let's hit a few. Let's go a little deeper. Number one, you should be a low-maintenance type. You need to make it easy for them. Quick responses, clean audio, clear communication, right? That's what everybody's saying. Do that. You're a no-brainer. I mean, they're going to come back every time if it's low maintenance and easy. But let's go a little deeper. Offer those light revisions and minor pickups and never nickel and dime a client to death. They will hate that because, you know, maybe there's another invoice and there's this and this and you're charging for that. Don't do that. If it's easy and quick and you can do it, just take care of it and build that goodwill. That will go way further than the $50 that you charged them. Next is staying consistent. You need to always remember, if you're like me and you have these different clubs you pull, which club do they usually want? What do they usually want to hear? You know, sometimes I have to go back. It's been 3 months since I did something for client X, and I have to say, ooh, I need to go listen to that. They're like, we want to do it just like the last one. I'll go back and listen to it because I don't remember. Did they want the storyteller? Did they want the businessman? Did they want the upbeat dad? And I have to go back and look at that listen to that read and pull that club and make sure I'm ready for it. And a lot of times make sure I've got the sample up right before the session so I can listen to the sample one last time. Never a bad idea. Next, also make sure you use the same setup. Some people don't ever change out their setup or their gain or anything. But what I have to watch, like if I'm doing video game, I really got to back the gain down. Because I don't want the first thing to do is the first line we do. They go, could you turn that down a little? You're clipping on our side. You want to be professional enough that you know ahead of time to do that stuff. I don't think you'll lose a client over that, but you might. Next is showing appreciation. I bought about a year and a half ago some thank you cards that have nothing on them. But they're the color of my business. They have that blue color, and on the front they say thanks, and you open it up and it's totally blank. And I will handwrite a thank you card very often and send that out to the producer and to the client. Thanks so much for choosing me, blah, 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 blah. I really enjoyed the session. And I'll put a card in there and I say, hey, I know it's a little old fashioned, but here's my business card and hope to hear from you again. Some people don't want to do that. It's, a pain. Some just send an email, but I think you should show appreciation because you know what? People remember kindness. And I'll tell you what, I think they really remember mail, old-fashioned mail, because you don't get that much anymore unless it's junk. So think about it. Send them a card. And another thing, if this is a newer client for you, not a returning client, and even with returning clients, you would too, but you want to get to that point of top of mind, right? So 30 days, 60 days, checking back in, and maybe you're asking for a copy or a link to the project, or maybe blah, 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 whatever, but you just dropped them a note, right? Or maybe you just drop them a note, hey, really enjoyed working with you XX days ago or last month or a few months ago, and just wanted to say, hi, I hope everything's going well, and if you need me, I'm always here. Something simple. I'm here for you. Next, for God's sakes, respect their time. When they set a time, show up, be on time, be ready to go, no drama. They're busy, and your reliability means a lot to them. They need you to be reliable. They need you to be on time. Click, 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 everything done. I am also very respectful on the other side because, as we all know, we are usually the very last thing on a project. The voiceover is the last thing to get done, last to get booked, last to get recorded, because a lot of times they'll send you, here's a completed video that we'll be putting your voice on. And, everything's ready to go except the voice. And sometimes they got to have it ready in a couple of days. I have a Nike mentality, and I'm not as busy as some people are with sessions back to back in a day or whatever. I don't do tons of them a week. If I do 2 or 3 or 4, one a day, one every other day, I'm really tickled with that because most of my work is self-directed. I don't have, I get directed work and have to be on live, sure, but a high percentage of mine is not. I do my own thing, so I'm not in a session. But when I am in a session, I tell them at the end, and I can kind of tell by how quick the session went, I'll have this over to you in about 30 minutes. And they're like, wow, that'd be great, And I don't know what other people are doing. I don't know if they have time or don't have time, or they're just like, I'm editing tomorrow. I'm not doing it today. I want it off my plate. And I have always been that way with everything to do with work and business is let's get it done. Nike that thing. Let's do it. So as soon as I'm out of the session, I look, I don't have anything on my calendar, nothing. Okay, I got time. Let's jump in here. Let's edit it. Let's clean it up, make it, take out all the gaps, all the stuff where I'm talking or waiting, and give them the 3 takes and then all the tags or whatever they wanted. And just one nice, clean file, and then I use the little D-click and the DS, and I balance up I kind of look and see if I got any crazy spikes, and that's it. Just good, clean, crisp audio. no secret sauce. They don't want it that way. But if they do, I ask a lot of times in the session, do you need me to compress and really sweeten that audio for you? Or I could send you a raw and one sweetened. When I offer to do that, they're like, yeah, if you could do that, that'd be great. What does it take to do that? 30 seconds when you're done. Once you get your initial one done and you've got all your clicks and noises out and everything's right, all you got to do is go back and add whatever you might add for something if you were fully producing it, and hit that button and save that second file, and you send them both WAV files and you're done. It's not that hard, and sometimes you've saved them a bunch of work. And I know a lot of times people say, but that's not our job. We're not. But some of these smaller places, a lot of times they'll take that raw audio and throw it in there and they won't do anything to it. And I've had that sound terrible. I've heard spots I've done come out not great because they didn't sweeten the sound. And so I offer that, and a lot of times, no, this raw's fine, and that's great. I don't mind that. So do that. Be respectful of their time. They're busy, and any way you can help them, help them. What's the other thing? Keep growing. Keep improving your skills. If you are building, like I build what I call my bag of my bag of clubs, where I'm pulling a different voice, whether it's got a little accent to it, or I'm trying to drop more accent, a character voice, things that I have done, new, like I'm doing on-camera UGC stuff now. And I started it in January. I've done some long form. I've done a lot of the little 30-second, 1 minute stuff. I've done B-roll footage for people where they had me do 25 clips of all these different activities. And I never thought I'd do on-camera stuff. But offering that out to some of these production houses, and if they ever ask for a sample reel, I've got one. And who knows, locally or somewhere they may go, hey, we got something we need a guy like you in, and we looked at it and you're kind of camera friendly. And I don't think I'm camera friendly. I'm shocked the lens doesn't break. But on the other hand, the authenticity that I bring as a voice actor, I bring that also on camera. And I think that is where some people lean to hiring me. And that's why I've been booking quite a bit of that this year. Everything from fishing pole holders to health gummies and sleep gummies. And what's some of the other things I've done? Air conditioning covers. My goodness, there's a bunch of others. Several supplements. The mouthpiece to help you sleep, instead of going and getting a CPAP. Anyway, I've done several of those. And they are looking for somebody that's trustworthy, real, down to earth. And the long form stuff I do is usually a long story, but it has to do with supplements, but they just last 10, 15 minutes, the longer videos that go on websites. And I enjoy it because it fills in the gaps of time where instead of me sitting around wasting time, looking at videos or doing this or doing that, my day is more structured now, and it's really been a big help. And I'm actually getting more stuff done by having more work because I'm wasting less time, and then the time that I have available to go do other things, I value it more. Did any of that make sense? I don't know. I got notes, so let me flip the page. Now, I talked about these things about building and keeping these clients, so let's talk about the other side. What are some of the fastest ways to lose that client? Well, it's pretty standard, and you guys know most of these. Missed deadlines. Now, that happens sometimes, but they are juggling schedules. We are the last piece of the pie, and if you say I'll have that over to you in an hour, I'll have that over to you tomorrow or whatever at noon, don't miss it. Use Google Calendar or whatever you need to use, and place everything in there as a task or whatever, and then make sure every day your task list. That's a hard word to say, task list. Make sure your task list is done every day and clear. Because if you're late, they're going to kick you to the curb. I guarantee you, they're not going to wait. There's too many other people who will do it on time and will follow up and have good systems in place to do that. The next one's ignoring direction. If you don't adjust when they ask you and it doesn't work, and look, I can remember, this has been a while. There are times what they're asking for, maybe you can't do. And what you really need to do then is say, could somebody there maybe say it that way and let me hear what you mean exactly by reading it, blah, 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 blah. I have done that. And then I went, oh, okay, yeah, I can do that, because what they were saying was not tinging in my head, I guess. But that was a long time ago. And really, I don't remember lately running into that, but it can happen. And if you don't listen and don't adjust, they'll move on to somebody else next time. But if you made it really easy, could you do that a little more, da-da-da-da-da, and you nail it. They go, oh, man, that was great. Now, could you try it this way, da-da-da-da, and you do it. Yeah, that's it. Sounds great. Hey, thanks. We got 4 really good variations. Thanks. Just get those over to us. Winner, chicken dinner, right? But don't be the opposite, where they're getting frustrated and saying, no, that's not quite it. Could you do, maybe this. So anyway. Next, what else will get you kicked to the curb? Bad audio. I guarantee you bad audio will get you out. Hissing, popping, background noises, way too much mouth noise. The client is assuming you're a pro. And if your audio sucks, they'll go find somebody that really is a pro. There's too many other things that'll get you kicked to the curb. Don't let audio be one of them. That should be the simple thing you fix on the front end as you're getting into the business and make it work. The other thing is, don't argue about feedback. Don't get defensive. They're not going to hire you again. Nobody wants to work with anybody that's defensive. Don't, if they say, that sounded a little stilted, could you relax that a little bit and don't go, no, it didn't. I mean, what's our carpet answer every time? Carpet meaning how we cover it. Yeah, sure. Be glad to. Yeah, happy to read that, whatever you guys need. Keep going, right? Don't argue with them. The other I mentioned earlier, don't overcharge for stuff. Nickel and diamond people, just don't do that. That makes you feel more like a convenience store clerk and not a partner. They came in and they got this, and this, and then somebody goes, let's get a pack of gum. If you can give it away, because you are doing nothing but investing in the future with that client. So don't overcharge or nickel and dime people. Another thing is ghosting, and I don't think people do that much, but it can happen. And I've had it happen on the other side, and then all of a sudden the person comes back. I had a client that I had for several months. They were very repetitive, 3 to 4 jobs a week, and then they stopped for about 4 months. And then they started again. And then they stopped again. And I would send an email, hey, hope everything's going okay, blah, 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 blah. And then I'm noticing my audio is still being used in their stuff, so it's not like they just didn't want to use me anymore. But they just never answered. Well, put that on the other shoe. No, put that on the other foot. Put that shoe on the other foot. That's going to hurt. But what I'm getting at is, don't ghost people or anything. I mean, if you're upset with something or whatever, talk it out, work it out, whatever. But that destroys trust totally when you're ghosted. And even with this client, if they come back again, I'm making it just fine without them. I'd like to have the income back. But I would almost tell them, you guys are kind of tricky to work with. You're not very transparent. And, if we're going to work together, I would appreciate it if this, and this could happen. And that's probably what I'll do. And I may lose them. And that's okay. I don't need them now. I'd love to have, like I said, love to have the money back. But I don't want the stress back. And that's the way they're going to look at it as well. The other one is drama. Leave your drama at home with your mama. Don't bring it to the studio or the booth or the session. Don't be complaining. Don't be talking about personal stuff. Don't be moody. that's going to pick up that if you're that way, you're probably that way as a professional. Be the happiest person in the world. If you're having a bad day, get adjusted before you come into that session and think good thoughts or whatever you got to do. I'm not going to tell you to do anything stupid like, get a good stiff shot of Jack or whatever. But do what you got to do to not do that. Another thing is making sure your environment, your setup and everything is reliable. And I know a lot of people work out of blanket booths and book stuff like crazy. Just be sure that stuff is reliable. You don't schedule at a time of day with somebody that there's a high chance of noise. I know we deal with lawnmowers and stuff in the summer. Where I'm at, we're in some kind of military training zone, and there are certain times of the month, or I don't know, I've never found the pattern for it, but helicopters fly over a lot. And so I have to watch for that. And if I know I had them yesterday, I'm probably going to have them today. And what if somebody schedules a thing, yesterday for today? And I'll usually tell them, sometimes we have they're doing some military maneuvers around us, and I'll hear a helicopter every now and then. And if I do, is it okay if I just let you know? Because I said it only lasts about 10 or 12, 15 seconds. And they're like, sure, no problem. We understand. Just, be mindful of all that. But if you've changed mics or interfaces or something has changed in your sound or whatever since you did the audition, don't, try to avoid that. I used to be an experimenter. I had 2 or 3 different mics, and I thought, well, I don't know, it might sound better on this, and it might sound better on this. And now my 416's here to hang. I mean, it's not going anywhere. And when I travel, it either goes with me or the 875 goes with me, and it's so similar, I don't worry about it. It's good. But I typically wouldn't book a session that I knew I wasn't going to be here to record it. And I'm not saying that won't ever happen, but, I don't go anywhere that much. So, that one's a lot easier for me to manage and maintain. Is there more I need to talk about today? Let me flip through this and make sure, because I had a ton of notes. I thought maybe I could dumb some of these down real quick. And I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but I think it's pretty good. But anyway, let me real quickly run through this, and this will become a YouTube video probably. This part right here. Let me mark this. So I kind of wrote this as a spot. I wrote this down as like a little commercial. So let me read it. You want to lose a voiceover client faster than a toupee in a tornado? Well, here's how. Miss a deadline, ignore their directions, send audio that sounds like you're talking through a sock, argue about feedback, charge them just extra for your breathing, and then ghost them mid-project. And for the grand finale, bring a lot of drama to the inbox. Congratulations, you're fired. You want to keep them? Here's how. Be easy to work with, hit your deadline, say you got it when they give feedback, sound clean, throw in a free pickup if it's tiny, say thank you, and for the love of gravy, leave the drama at the door. You need to be the easy button, and you'll be their favorite faster than you can say, book solid. How about that? Now, I probably could have made the podcast that, and it just lasted a minute. But anyway, we got to have discussions, right? That's what it's about. And you guys do remember the easy button, right? I used to have one on my desk. It was Office Max or Staples or somebody, and you hit the button and it goes, that was easy. That was a big commercial line a long time ago, but most of you guys probably remember. So anyway, those are the ways to lose a voiceover client and the ways to keep a voiceover client. If you don't want to get fired fast, listen to this advice, apply it to your everyday work, and everything will be good. Hey, thanks for joining us again. Episode 171 is now in the books and coming up there on Spotify and Apple. And also, again, I want to thank my good friend Jonathan Grant at VO Leads and VO Inbox for being a part of the VO Life. And let's hear from our good friends there now, and we'll see you next time.
And that's another episode of the VO Life. Thanks for dropping in and hanging on. The VO Life was brought to you by VOinbox.com.
The marketing tool that gives you back something others don't. Make an investment in your marketing that not only cultivates clients but gives you back time.
If you are a professional voice actor and you need to up your direct email marketing game, VO Inbox might be for you.
Reach out to Troy in an email to get 25 leads free with your paid subscription. Send that email to troy@troyholdenvoices.com.
Need to talk about building your VO business? You can schedule time with Troy on his website in half-hour or full-hour sessions. There's even a free 15-minute consult available, all on the website at troyholdenvoices.com.
Thanks for being here, and join us again next week on the VO Life.